Hola, buenas.
That's Spanish.
That's Spanish right there. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Expressing Feelings in Virtual Learning. My name is Cristina.
I'm Serena.
And we are the founders of the company Teachers Who Take Passion for Learning. We want to thank all of you for being part of our community. We are very excited about all of these new webinars that we are offering to our community. Right now that we are facing all of these challenges in our classrooms, we think it's very important to talk about how we can help our students to express their feelings in this very weird virtual learning. So this is why we create this webinar where we're going to talk about three very important elements. So again, my name is Cristina.
I'm Serena.
And Andres, he is helping us from Ecuador. We are here in California. Thank you so much, Andres, for always being with us and helping the company, sharing all of the links and the information. So like every time that we have our webinar, Serena is going to be with her cell phone and she will be reading all of your posts. So if you have any question, if you want to interact with us, we are here. We really like when you ask us questions. And if you are not live, but then you're watching this later, it's the same thing. Go ahead, send us a question, give us a comment. We're always waiting for you to let us know how we're doing it and what are the things that you would like us to talk about in our free webinars. And today we're going to talk about how we can help our students to express their feelings in this virtual learning. So we have talked to so many different teachers and they ask us about, how can we use all of these different technology tools that we have for education. If you are talking about G Suite, if you're talking about Zoom on CISO, and yes, we talk about that, but something that teachers mostly ask us is how we create community with our students. How do we do this? And one of the most important things is to talk about feelings, because you create a community, but in that community, it's all about feelings. You see, I chose this picture here, and these students are kind of sad.
Hi, Aurora.
Hi, Aurora. And that's not how we want our students to be, especially right now with everything that is going on. We want you, the teacher, we want you to be the person who's there showing all of these positive things to your students. And we understand, for us teachers, this is a crazy time. But you know what? We can think about this and focus on the positive things. And the positive things are that we are teachers and we love what we do. Hi, Martika. David again. Hi.
So I think the important thing here, though, is there are going to be times that our students are feeling down or upset or angry. As are we. I know I do not like this for one bit. The only thing I like is that I'm comfortable. I'm not leaving. I'm not having to go here, there, and here, everywhere. But there's so many things that are different that it's really challenging because this is not how I'm used to doing my job. I'm sure it's not used to how most of you are doing their job. Even just the simple facts of checking in with teachers or saying hi to people in the hallway, I don't have that. The only interaction I have is with you. And my cat.
That sounds very bad.
Which I love.
Hi, Pablo.
Hi, Pablo.
Nice to see you again. Well, we don't want our students to pretend that things are okay all the time.
Right.
This is expressing your feelings in virtual learning. It's not about being happy all the time, but it's about understanding how to show your feelings, how to manage your feelings, not to pretend that everything is okay. And if you're feeling sad or upset, sometimes we hear don't cry.
You're fine.
No. We cry because we're sad or something hurts. And we're not supposed to be happy all the time. That's not how life works. So, now that we have all of our students, little students in front of us, and all of them are exposed, we can see them all the time and they can see everyone. So this is more complicated than before.
So let's talk about some of those differences. When we think about learning, first of all, we think about what is the purpose of school? when you go to school, when you think about school, I have two things here. When you think about school, we think about students are in a classroom, they've got a notebook, they've got their pencils and their
huge backpack.
Huge, heavy backpack. They fall over because it weighs so much. The teacher's at the front of the classroom writing on the chalkboard, if you look at clip arts, because they still exist, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Or projecting a presentation or something. That's what we think about of what school is. But if you remember when you were in school, what were your experiences? Hey, Christina, do you remember that amazing geometry test that you took back in 10th grade?
No. I don't want to remember about my tests.
Do you remember doing that reading comprehension in English class in 4th grade?
Well, I think most students will not remember that, but I think few students will remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you, Serena, tell us, what do you remember about school?
I think about playing tetherball at recess.
Okay.
Played a lot of tetherball.
Is that the one that you move the ball and it goes around and you're jumping?
No, it's the pole with the string and the ball, and you hit it to one side, and the other person hits it, and you try to get it to one.
I never understood that game. It sounds very boring for me. I played basketball for like 20 years, I think. So that's the only thing that I remember about school is playing basketball. Playing basketball in the morning, playing basketball in the afternoon, and then teachers calling my name. We already start classes. By the way, the same thing happened to my mom. Same thing. We just play basketball. Yeah.
So there's something beyond this. When we think about school, it's not just the learning that's happening. Oops. Oh, okay. These were our three things. I jumped into the first one. So we're going to talk about social-emotional side, progressive support and strategies. Now, in the social-emotional, we want to talk about what school is. And we don't think that kids on their cell phone is something that should be happening in school. And yet, this is what students are so excited about at recess. Okay, maybe
look at my new app.
It really depends on the school. Some students are not allowed to have phones on campus at all, or they're not allowed to take them out of their bags. But even so, this is what they're doing. And so, if what they're excited about is being on their phones and being on these different apps and TikTok and Messenger and everything.
TikTok is being banned in the United States, so I don't know why you're talking about that.
Okay, I don't know. But if this is all they really care about and they're not really interacting with each other, then this whole thing about school closures and virtual learning shouldn't really affect them.
The ones that are in high school, middle school, maybe, or even college.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you're not really talking to anyone, you're just with your phone, then this shouldn't be a problem. But actually, this is a huge problem because in the past, we were doing this, but I was showing to you what I was doing, right? And maybe we were competing in the same game.
Or selfie. Okay? So there's definitely a social aspect here that even though they weren't as physically connected, of not being able to hold like verbal conversations very well, they still had a lot of benefits that they got from physical presence. And this is what we do. This is how we connect as humans, right? We can go for coffee. Let's go out for lunch. Do you want a cookie? Do you want a sucker?
I want so many things.
It was all
now.
food related, but we can go
gosh.
for a walk.
I just remember the break time going to the how do you call it here, cafeteria.
Yeah.
In Spanish we call it bar, which is so weird.
That's really bad. But if you've got Spanish-speaking families and they say the bar, it doesn't mean alcohol. It means
the cafeteria,
the little snack shop.
Yeah. So I just remember going there and being in a line forever to get this. You can see it is the last sandwich there. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so far away. And you go there, there's no sandwich anymore. I remember that. Being a lot of people around me, pushing.
Or if you were the cool kid, in my school, we had these cheesy breadsticks called Bosco sticks. And it was only like on a certain day. But they only had a certain amount, let's say like 30 packs. And so kids would race to the snack shop to try to get these. But if you were really nice, you'd buy like 5 or 6 for your friends and then share them all with your friends, and then nobody else got them.
So school is not just about the lessons that are so valuable. I mean,
I would even argue that it's really not about that almost at all. Because we remember very, very little of all of the content that we've been taught. People can say like photosynthesis and mitochondria and conjunctions, but they don't really they don't really understand, or they're not really able to elaborate on those. And so like if your kids are in school and you're helping them, you're like, oh, I kind of remember this, but not really. It's not the knowledge, it's not the book knowledge, but the interactions that we have is really why we go to school. Because if you think about it, social, emotional, the social side is because of society. And this is teaching students how to then become members of society once they finish school. How do they follow the rules so they don't get in trouble? In this case, instead of with the principal, with the police. You know, we have rules in place in schools, we have rules in place in society, we have expectations of interactions and ways that we can, you know, go above and beyond or participate in more ways of like friendships and clubs and leadership roles.
So our friends that are connected right now, that are live with us, thank you so much for being here with us and being so active with our community. What is something that you remember about school? What is something that you remember?
Well, they all got scared and left.
Don't go. What is something that you remember about school? Do you remember your teachers? And if you remember about your teachers, what about them? You know, what about them? Do you remember about that fantastic lesson? Or the teacher that was, I don't know, different, maybe, good, bad? What do you remember?
I remember I had a substitute teacher in high school that taught us self-defense moves.
Ooh.
I think it was supposed to be like anatomy class. We didn't do anatomy. I mean, I guess body parts. But it like taught us how to get out of handcuffs, like with zip ties. And we zip tied our hands. Like, this was our class. It was awesome.
So if you remember something about a teacher, what's that thing that you remember about the teacher? All right, so social-emotional. When we go to classes, it's not just about the facts and the lessons. It's about the connection that you have with your teacher.
Right. Well, even more, I want to say one more thing about that we said, is that nowadays we're in such a era of instant knowledge. Maybe, you know, when I was in high school, we didn't have cell phones connected to the internet. There were computer stations in the library. You could look some things up, but it wasn't that elaborate. You still had to use a lot of the book systems. And you really just kind of wondered, like, I wonder what the name of that actor was. Do you remember? Nobody, you know, you just kind of...
I like that. I don't like this new thing about...
Let me check.
I don't like that.
But this instant knowledge thing makes the concept of school even less important on receiving knowledge. Teachers are not the owners of this information that they are imparting so graciously to the students. They're not. They don't own this information, and a lot of times students know more than we do on many different subjects.
I'm okay with that.
And that's okay, because it's not about the knowledge. It's about how to collaborate with others, how to integrate yourself, how to follow structure and expectations, how to develop internal motivation, intrinsic motivation, and really learn to be an independent person. So, the main guiding force of that is the teacher.
And when we talk about this progressive support, this is because we notice that when teachers are in elementary school, pre-K, K, they have a really strong connection with their students. And then something happened, middle school, high school, college, and life.
In life.
I just went all the way up.
Yeah.
That you have now many teachers getting into your classroom, or you move to different classes, and you're not spending the entire day with one teacher, but with different teachers. And it seems like the time is always there, like there's not enough time for even saying, hi, how are you doing? And I really meant when I say that, right? I really mean it, that I care about you and I want to know how is your day. And now, how do we do this in front of this camera, right? With this computer, with all of my students? How do we do this? Because if in the past it was a challenge, now it's even bigger.
But in the past, or let's talk about like in-person classes, teachers had the ability to connect with their students a little bit more subtly. They could be discreet of like, I see my students kind of like this. I could just go tap them. Are you tired? Are you just falling asleep? Maybe they didn't sleep well. What's going on? Or if they're really sad and trying to figure out what happened, I can crouch down, I can kind of whisper, I could kind of hold them back if they're gonna walk to the library or something, like hey, and talk to them without everyone else hearing the conversation, knowing that something's up.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna create even more stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
But now here,
we can't do that right now because everyone has been exposed, right? Everyone is here. If you have 18, 20, 40 students, everyone is there. And the problem with that is that if you didn't spend enough time to create community, to show your students that you care about them, then there's a lot of things that we can actually do now. So I can turn off my camera and I can turn off my microphone and I can chat with my teacher, because sometimes you can only chat with the teachers, and I can say my internet is not working properly. So what are you going to do about that, right? If I don't see that you care about me, then I don't really want to be in your class. So this is why this progressive support is so important. It shouldn't be just in elementary school.
It shouldn't.
Middle school, high school, college.
Well, the other thing we know, and we've said this many, many times, is that we know students don't learn from people they don't like.
Yeah.
As harsh as that sounds, it has a huge factor, because even if you're a teacher and you're like, I really don't like this student, you should never let that child know. I can't say this, I'm so emotional.
No, you can't. The student will make sure that you know that she doesn't like you, for sure. But you can never show that to your students. And now find a way to get along with that student.
Yeah.
It happened to me.
Every
single year. Yeah. There is always someone that I know for sure doesn't like me, and there's someone that I don't like. Because I'm a human.
Right.
Right? So now everyone...
And probably because that child, that 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 22-year-old student reminds you of something,
right? But you
there
have
was that one student you really loved that reminded you of your little brother.
That's true. And I have bias. I bias because then I was trying to help the student more.
That's right? True.
And then I realized, that's what it is. Then I was more careful with what I was doing. But we all have to be very good with our students. I mean, it's challenging to
It's not about just like letting them do whatever they want. No, it's about putting boundaries, and children need to test those boundaries. Adults do it less and less because they've done it all in their childhood and they know what those limits are, but there are definitely times when we also test those boundaries and see, what's the minimum amount I need to do, because that's what people do. We're lazy. We are actually like programmed to try to do the least amount of work, the least amount of effort as a survival tactic. And so our students are doing that too. I had a student today, a little boy, 3rd grader. I was in a small group session, 5 kids. and we were all sharing different things, and I asked him a question, and he's just like, and his microphone was on, and I was like, your mic is on, use your voice, I need to hear you. And he's like, and then I can hear in the back his mom's like, you know, like, oh, clean up your bed or something like that. And I was just like, I know your mic is on. And he's testing this though, because he wants to see how I react. This is only my third time with him. I'm new. And so he's testing me, and that's
They're so
fine.
smart.
They're so funny. But I'm not going to, and what I did actually is I said, okay, I'm going to shut your camera off now because you're not ready to be on camera for our class. And as soon as I shut his camera off, he's like, no, but Miss Nina, I'm ready. I'm like, oh, there you are. I hear you now. And so I had to create an expectation for him.
Yeah, well,
But
all of this, it's little by little.
it is.
We are creating connection, and the connection is not going to be there just because we try to be nice once. No, this
No.
is something that is going on the entire time, the entire year. One of those things that are very important is to remember your student's name. And now, there's not any excuse
Well,
because you can
it's
see
right
their
there.
names there. Okay,
But we'll get to
sometimes
that.
they have other names,
That's true.
but you should know your student's name.
Right. And with this, the power, the influence of teachers have in our lives as we develop, especially, I'm going to say influencers, because you can have positive influencers and negative influencers.
Yeah.
And aside from our parents and family members, teachers are the most influential people in our lives because we're with them the entire day. That is our job. You know, that's our 9 to 5. We are at school with these teachers. And it even applies, just like you said, to elementary, middle, high, college life.
To everyone.
When we're in jobs, I actually just saw this quote the other day that people don't quit jobs, they quit bosses.
Haha. And that is so challenging because when you're thinking about that, right? You can quit your teacher
That's true.
because we are with our students for so many hours, for so many years. And then if you're not showing that you care about your students, then why they should care about you and what you're trying to teach, right? So they can give up on you in the same way that you gave up on them. So it is important that we put all of our senses in this teaching because we have to be good role models.
Yeah. So with that, we want to talk about some strategies that we have. How can I make this bigger?
No.
No. Okay. Sure. I'll just leave us there. With this, I'm gonna show here. We want to talk about 4 types of strategies. And they're all different ways of expression because we're talking about expressing our feelings in virtual learning. And so with that, we want to share with you some ideas of how you can put these into play. And these really can be used for students across the age range.
Yes.
And it really has nothing to do with the curriculum. It's really just giving an outlet for connection, for sharing, for expressing our feelings, because those are so important when we have learning. So the first activity we want to talk about is an oral expression, and this could be done simultaneously. I really like to do it simultaneously because it's kind of a disaster, and everyone's like shouting, but that's fine because
It's the same thing in the classroom.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Some students don't like to be spotlighted. They do not like to have all the attention on them. Actually, a lot of students. And it's kind of like public speaking, especially on Zoom, when your face is right there and everybody can see you. And so when everyone shouts it at the same time, nobody's really going to hear your voice, but they're still participating. So this one is just, we call it, what comes to your mind. So I'm going to say a word, and then you just tell me, say the first thing that comes to your mind. Just one word, whatever comes to your mind. So if I said like sweet, 1, 2, 3.
Dreams.
Sweet dreams, okay. Everyone's going to have different connections. Some people might say like cookies. Some people might say candy.
Yeah.
Some people might say
When you say some people, you're talking about you, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
sweet
me.
candy, that is just you.
totally. All right. So we can do this with some funny things. You know, like I could say, lunch. 1, 2, 3.
3 times. Oh, it was just one word, huh? I want to have lunch 3 times.
Oh.
Yeah, and see, but that's the
Sandwich.
beauty of this, right? Like, you can say that word, and then I can ask my students to expand their ideas, right?
Yeah.
And
Or
this
you
is
could
not-
go through one by one, and if they don't say it all at the same time,
I can make this a math class easily. Any math class.
Or you could show people how they're connected, like maybe they could write it in the chat, but this one we're saying is a verbal expression. So they're all going to say it, but then I could say, like, you know, I heard this and this, if you don't want them to have to say it. You know, oh, I heard somebody say pizza, and I heard somebody say sandwich, and I heard somebody say salad, and I heard somebody say hungry. You know, if I heard a couple words, I could write down them, and that's enough.
And there's always a couple of students who are going to tell you again what they say,
Yeah, that's
just in case you didn't hear them. That's how it is in a classroom. In a regular classroom, you are there with them. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Right? So we know this is not the same thing, but what should be the same thing is the idea of having that connection with your
Yeah.
students.
And that way you can, like, throw out some feeling words. Like I could say happy. 1, 2, 3.
Times.
Sunflowers.
Oh.
You could put some things like maybe a little bit more touchy topics, you know, like I could say coronavirus. 1, 2, 3.
Sad.
Yuck. Like, but there could be different words that come out of that, different responses from all of our students. So that's our first strategy, is a verbal expression. Saying things, no writing. In this case, it's just saying it, and there's no right or wrong. Another one that we want to talk about is a thinking question. And so this case, I'm gonna share some questions with you, and I could have some soft music on in the background. I could have a little timer of, you're gonna have 30 seconds to think about this question, what it means for you, how does that feel. We're not gonna share. You just need to think about this question for you. And so we could have a little bit deeper questions like, you know, like I can continue to develop their thoughts of their responses after I say the question. So a couple examples of these could be, you know, how are you feeling right now? Give them a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And then in this, go ahead.
And in this, what's important is allow the time for them to think. You don't have to talk the entire time. So, you know, how do you feel? What's your feeling right now? How do you feel right now? I'm going to give you a minute. And I know 1 minute, it's like eternity. It's so long. But that 1 minute is so important for your students. You don't have to talk the entire time.
No. And I wouldn't talk the entire time. I do like to give little prompts, at least I do. So I would give like 10, 15 seconds of silence. And then I'd throw something in like right now could be today. It could be this week, this month. It could be this afternoon.
See, we both have
And
different strategies on how we present the same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to continue, make sure that their thoughts kind of sticking in that same track. So that's one idea. We could also, so questions that are relevant to, again, to students of all ages. You could say, you know, what's changed in your life since the start of coronavirus or since school's closed? What's different now? And how were things before?
Now, remember, before you go to these questions that are more personal, and we can talk about even more deep questions of what's happening right now in our country. But before you go there, you have to know who's in your classroom. You have to have a good connection with them.
These are just thoughts, though. They're not sharing them.
Well, if we're going to the next level, right? Because I'm not going to share with you something that is challenging in my life right now if I don't trust you and if I don't trust the other students. So we have to create this community,
Yeah.
but it's little by little. This expressing feelings, it's something that takes time.
Right. Well, this is why I like this activity as just a in your head thought response for expression, because in this case, the only participation is just sitting there. Like, I don't know what you're thinking about, but you're here with me, and this is what I'm asking you to do.
But you're thinking
And
about
there's-
something.
That's fine, but there's no expectation on this. And really, when we're thinking about promoting and trying to create this safe space, which is a very vulnerable space for students to open themselves up, I think, right, we could start off the year, and gradually as we go, we can open that up to be a more verbal or maybe written expression of those concepts, so they can share with each other a little bit more. But there does need to be a lot of structure and make sure that there's a lot of respect and care.
Yes, and this is especially important right now that so many schools have get into this idea of addressing what's going on around us, right? And there are these curriculums that are for biases and so many touchy things that we can talk now in our schools. But it shouldn't be just like a check mark. Like, I am a teacher, I'm just going to talk about Black Lives Matter right now because that's part of my curriculum, and I'm going to do it in 1 week really fast. Check.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that.
These are not curriculum topics. These are lifelong conversations.
But unfortunately,
know.
we have these as curriculum topics now. Not only this topic, but so many ones that are just for a check mark. And this is why I think we have to be very respectful of what our students are sharing in our classes. If we want to create this community where they feel comfortable talking about things that are challenging for them, we have to give enough space and time for them to do that.
Right. So thought questions are a great way. It's just a very calm, safe activity because we don't have to share. And it's really important that we don't ask students to share, because we're only going to hear from the same 2 or 3 students that share everything anyway all the time, because that's who they are. And that's not a good representation of our entire student body. So one way we can now have a different expression is through written expression. And again, this does not need to be shared. People should never be forced to share their feelings about them, or they will start to censor what they're writing. And they will limit, and they will not have, or what they're thinking, or what they're drawing, what they're saying especially.
At least not at the beginning.
That's very true. So a written one, it depends on the age, of course. If we're talking about really littles, it could be a drawing. It could just be color. Like, pick a color that you think of and just scribble with that color. It could be coloring in something. It could be drawing something that when they hear that, the same thing like we did, like happiness or lunch or whatever that first word that came to your mind, they could draw that. Or write it. I like to do what is it called? The word
Puzzle?
no. The word clouds, like the brainstorming of.
When they say what is the word, there are like billions of words that you could
the
be
word.
thinking.
We just did this in Spanish, and you know what I'm talking about, where you just
Lluvia de estrellas.
De estrellas.
I mean,
just said like a store. What is it called?
rain.
Okay.
What's going on with your English?
I don't know. I don't even have language in my head right now. No English or Spanish. Okay.
Brainstorm.
Kind of. But it's more like word vomit. What are they? Brain dumps. That's what they call it. I got it. In this case, a lot of this could be it's abstract thought. There's no need for full sentences, and you need to have at least 3 words and a period and a capital letter. No, I mean, it's not a writing topic. It's a feeling activity. And so there shouldn't be expectations of grammar and vocabulary and all that stuff.
Should they grade their feelings?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
Especially if you're going to do any homework assignment related to feelings, there should be no grade. It could be participation, like did you do it or not. But in this case, they could write. And journaling, for thinking about a little bit older students, journaling is so powerful. Having different topics, and they don't have to be that related to feelings, but even if they aren't, if we think there's something so simple like, what is a food that you have prepared at home? What's something that you know how to make? Write me the steps of how do you make it. It could be as simple as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But it's not that simple because there's a lot of feelings behind it, because there's probably a social interaction between their family members or other people.
Yeah. Like right now you said peanut butter and jelly, and I thought in my mind, ugh. I don't like
She's
peanut
not
butter.
from
I am not from this country,
this country.
so yeah, it doesn't come natural, the peanut butter and jelly.
Okay,
Anyway.
so that's the journaling, and having like a daily journal topic is a really nice way to start a class. If you have a class that is a little bit more writing focused, you can just have a journal topic up and have a timer, and let's say the first 3 minutes are dedicated, whether they come in a couple seconds late, a minute late, they just boom, I know exactly what's expected of me. I look and I start writing until the timer's out. And however much they write, fine. They're going to have more and more practice as they continue to do this.
I'm thinking maybe teachers are saying, well, this is probably going to be good for English or language class. But no, this is for any class. You can do this activity in your math class, in your physics class, in your computer science class. Why? Because feelings are related to everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with my class about C++. That's what my niece is learning right now. That's what I have that in my mind.
Okay.
But okay, I want my students to feel comfortable to go into this crazy language. So, okay, let's think about how do you feel at this moment? Okay, I'm gonna give you 1 minute. 1 minute. That's what I'm asking you to give to your students, that
Yeah.
it's not related with your class or
Yeah.
grade or anything. 1 minute, right? Okay, think about it.
Right.
And then in that, you can
mix
see
it
their
up.
faces.
Yeah,
You
that
can
is
see their
true.
faces.
You can see all their faces.
You know?
The last form of expression is the creative expression, and it's really important because a lot of times language in our brain actually muddies up our feelings. We try to put words to what it is we're feeling, and sometimes we can't find the words. And we can be feeling something really deep, and maybe I don't even know where this came from, or something triggers me. I don't even know what's going on. But I can have a creative expression, and this can be through painting or drawing or just playing with like Play-Doh. Christine doesn't like Play-Doh, but like even if it's like Legos or something like that, being able to build something hands-on, create something, draw it, act it out, maybe some sort of stretching or dance movement, and in that moment, I'm not having any language expectation, no curriculum alignment. It's just being able to express themselves. And so this could be a drawing like we did with the word associations. It could just be like, I really like these half drawings where it's like, complete the drawing, it's not a star. So they have to think beyond what is the obvious.
Can I complete the...
Oh, are you going to complete it?
I-
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you're talking about it, I can complete it. No, you can't focus.
I'm trying to watch. And those are nice. Those could be like quick 1 minute drawings. And each week, each day, a new student could have the first start of the drawing that we all have to copy and then continue. That's a really nice one, and it creates community because each student knows that they're going to be able to have that
Yeah, I got
chance. Oh my goodness, what is it?
It's a mushroom walking.
It's a walking mushroom. I love it. Okay. Acting out something, even just showing on our faces, like, okay, everybody show me really angry, and everyone's Okay, now show me tired.
Oh,
That one's easy. That one's like, yeah, we got it. Okay.
Show me happy, right?
Yeah. Another like nonverbal expression we can do a lot of times is check-ins. And so like having them do thumbs up, thumbs down. The hard thing is that they will base their response based on what they see other people doing. So
Close your eyes.
and they're not gonna close their eyes. Like half of them don't. They kind of cheat.
All of this depends on the connection you have with your students. At the beginning, it's really awkward to do all of these things, especially middle school, high school, college, right? Because you're not a kid anymore. So like, oh. But you keep doing this, and see, they really care about you when you show that you really care about them.
So true.
And they will do it. They will do it. So everything that we are sharing today is because we think it's very important to help our students. They express their feelings in this virtual learning.
Oh, we forgot to talk about this one. Let's talk about it.
And how we do this is, in this case, when we start with our classes, something positive at the beginning and something positive at the end. The class was very challenging. Okay, let's address that. Let's talk about it, but then something positive at the end, right? Because I want my students to go with a good mood to the next class also.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever had that time when you get students who are like super bad? They came from a class and you're like, what happened? And they're like, oh, we just took a test.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how do we finish that test with something positive?
Right. Okay, and these were the ideas we talked about: oral expression, written expression, artistic expression. There's many, many ways we can express our feelings. This is going to help us in our interactions because we know that learning in school is so much more about the socio-emotional aspect, the social connections, the peer models, the collaborating and teamwork and leadership and being in clubs and being on sports teams
And making mistakes and being, and you know,
And
like
falling.
arguing. Yeah.
in the hallway and spilling your milk and all these different things. All of that builds us who we are.
Then progressive support. So teachers in elementary school, in middle school, and high school, we all have to show that love for our students, that connection for our students. And again, it shouldn't just be in elementary school. They should be all across. So then my students remember me even when I was teaching in first grade or when I was teaching in 12th grade. Why? Because I share that I care about them. So this has to be progressive support.
Strategies, we talked about a few. In this case, the big thing we want to get you to take away with the strategies is that strategies, we should vary them. Everyone's going to respond differently to whether it's oral or written or creative, whether it's thought. And so we need to vary them, but also we should not associate any sort of curriculum expectation when we're thinking about a feelings activity. It should not be graded, except for maybe participation if they should submit something to show that they did it. And it should never be forced to be shared. And if it is shared, it should be anonymous. There should be an option for anonymous. You know, if students need to share it with you, and then you could share a couple of responses, nobody needs to identify themselves. In this case, this is something that's really important because we're trying to create that safe space that they can continue to share. And if they feel embarrassed, if other people laugh at them, or if they feel like nobody else thought the same way I thought, something must be wrong with me, we start to create these negative self-images that aren't really pushed by other people. It's something that we do naturally, most people. And so we want to try to change that, or at least not promote that in the best of our capability.
Yes. So this is our webinar about expressing feelings in virtual learning, and we want you to, you know, be creative with your kids, have fun. Of course, you have to teach the content, but remember that the most important part is that they know that you care about them, because when they know that, they will do a lot more for you. So thank you so much for being part of this webinar. We really appreciate your time here with us. We love that you're part of our community. And we will see you this Thursday with our next webinar.
Thank you so much.
My name is Christina and she's Serena. We're part of Teachers Who Tech. See you this Thursday.
Take care. Bye-bye.